I think this could be the best RTX 4080 laptop that we've seen in 2024.
Welcome to OWNorDisown, where tech decisions are made easy.
Hi, this is Stephen from OWNorDisown. Well, today I'm going to be looking at the Lenovo Legion Pro 7 with the i9-14900HX and 175 watt 4080. And cat out the bag, it is a very good laptop. Now my unit as configured here is $3,220, and for that you get the i9-14900HX, you get the RTX 4080 laptop GPU, 175 watts. Now you can, for an extra $535, go for the 4090. Now I don't really recommend that, that's quite expensive. Stick with the 4080 in my opinion, because you only get about a 9% difference, so that's the difference there between the two GPUs. My unit here has 2 sticks of 16 gigabytes of DDR5, 5600 megahertz RAM, so that's 32 gigabytes in total. And also it's got 2 1 terabyte SSDs filling the 2 slots, and that has a pretty poor write speed of 1614 megabytes per second, but has a quite decent read speed of 7120 megabytes per second. Now it has a 1080p webcam, and I mean it starts, if you don't have the 32 gigabytes of RAM and plus a 1 terabyte SSD, it starts at $3,000 for the 4080 model. So I don't think that's too bad, because you do get a good build quality here. Now I also have a 99 watt hour battery. Strangely, there is an 80 watt hour battery as an option, and that is it's an extra $100. That certainly doesn't make any sense to me. However, the 99 watt hour battery in this doesn't last that long. At 240 hertz, because the panel is 240 hertz, I got 2 3/4 hours of runtime. That's set at 50% brightness, quiet mode, using the auto hybrid, so it automatically, when it's unplugged, it uses the integrated GPU. That's not that good. Switching it to 60 hertz, which you can do by pressing the FN and R button, that did up it to about 3 3/4 hours, so still not very good really for a 99 watt hour battery. So the 4900HX is pretty power hungry here. Bit disappointed with that. The 1080p camera is pretty decent, and this is what it looks and sounds like. Now the webcam, of course, is up top, and some models have a 1080p and some have a 720p. Now I believe this is the 1080p model. It does look quite good, the colours are good. I also like the microphone, that's very good as well, and you do have a privacy shutter. This is what it's like when you type. Now the design and the build quality of it, it hasn't particularly changed that much, I don't think. Now I had, personally I owned the 5800H1 with the 3070, and it's got the same design language, which, it's nice. I mean, it is good. It's an all aluminium build. The hinges are stiff and the screen goes flat. It's, I can't fault it in that regard, and it's, it's very hard to get in, which is a criticism of mine, I must admit. It's all well and good having it, nice and tight, but it's a bit of a bitch to open up. Anyway, I do wish it could change it now a little bit. No longer is the O used to be lit up here on the Legion symbol on the lid. It's a shame. And also, in the day, the ports at the back here, the symbols used to light up as well. And I don't know why they've stopped doing that. I think that even the previous generation was the same. I would like to see that lit up again. That was a nice touch. And of course, you used to have RGB here around the sides in the day. They've got rid of that, of course. But you do have the RGB light bar here at the front. And of course, the RGB keyboard is exactly the same. That still is very, very nice. The deck, it is, as I say, it's aluminium too. It is prone to smudging, as is the lid, which is a shame. The trackpad is a one-piece trackpad, multi-gesture. It seems to work very, very well. I had no problems with that at all. Now, as usual, I do like the power button. I still think it's one of the best. It has a little light in the center, so when you're pressing FN and the Q key together, it does change the different power modes, and that gives good visual representation of what power mode you're in. Now the webcam is not an infrared Windows Hello webcam, which is a bit disappointing. I'm sure it used to in the last generation, but this unit certainly doesn't have it, which is a shame. but it does have good cooling inside. You know, the vents here. The feet aren't that big, but to be honest, the thermals were very, very good, and we'll go through that in a second. So once you open up and you get inside, you'll see that 99 watt-hour battery and the 2 stereo speakers. Now the speakers are okay. They're 77 decibels, so you know, better than average, but not the loudest I've heard. But you know, the bass was good, and you know, you certainly could hear your game, you know, without over the fan noise, because the fan noise is pretty low, and of course we'll look at that as well. That's probably one of the big selling points, I think. Unfortunately, it failed me latency mon test, and you have a vapor chamber to help keep things cool with 4 heat sinks, and of course the 2 fans. And like I mentioned before, you've got the 2 DIMM slots, and you've got 2 SSD slots, all covered with aluminum to help heat dissipation. Now I think Lenovo were the first, if I'm right, you can tell me if I'm wrong, having a 16:10 aspect ratio, and everybody started following. And I must admit, when it first came out, I thought, you know, I'm not going back. And still to this day, it's great. Now I would like to have seen them with a like an 18-inch, 17, 18-inch screen. So we're still here with the 16-inch. And to me now, I don't know, I'm a bit spoiled for testing some of these laptops. I'll do like the 18-inch, right? But still, it's very good. You've got good viewing angles, and it's a nice screen. And they say it's 2560 by 1600, 240 hertz at IPS. Now, as for the brightness, typical of Lenovo here, the 50% brightness is pretty low. It's only 105 nits. They always seem to do that, but it does go up to about 458 nits at peak, and a contrast ratio of 1390 to 1. And we look at the screen uniformity in the center, 466 nits, and around the periphery, you know, not too bad, ranging from 478 to the bottom right hand corner there, only 376. So that was pretty low. In fact, it's quite low in the bottom left hand corner as well. Looking at the color gamut, we've got 100% of sRGB, 88% of Adobe RGB, and 99% of the P3 color space. And the color accuracy is pretty decent as well, an average delta E of 1.03. And as for the ghosting, I did that test, not spot on. For 240 Hz panel, it's probably one of the better ones, good ghosting. And backlight bleed, marginal at best, perhaps a little bit, but that, I think it was very, very good. You know, probably one of the better IPS panels for backlight bleed. Looking at the ports on the left hand side, we have a USB Type A and a USB-C, which supports DisplayPort 1.4 and 140 watt power delivery. That was great. So you can actually just, you know, use a smaller USB-C power brick to charge the laptop. And on the right hand side, we have the headphone mic jack, webcam shutter button, and a USB Type A 3.2 Gen 1. And around the back we have some ports as well. We have the RJ45, a USB-C 3.2 Gen 2, which also supports mini DisplayPort 1.4 and 140 watt power delivery. We have an HDMI 2.1, as well as 2 USB-A 3.2 Gen 1s. Now one of them is always powered on, so you can use that to power, say, a mobile phone when the laptop's turned off. And I do like that option. Now I do wish there was an SD card reader, but to be fair, they've never had one ever, I don't think. So I would personally like to have something like that, but they don't have that. The weight, it's 5 pounds 13 ounces, or with the 330 watt power brick, 7 pounds 10 ounces. Now the 330 watt power brick is pretty small. It's a GAN power brick, so it is smaller. And here's a comparison between like the old school one and also the one that's just used on my CyberPower Tracer 7. So it's definitely smaller and makes it quite a good portable package. I've always been a fan of the Vantage software on these Legion laptops. It's very clean looking and easy to use. So on the right hand side you have the thermal modes, which you can switch between performance, balance mode, and in balance mode you can also enable AI to boost performance up a bit there. You've got the quiet mode, and you also got the custom mode. And in custom mode, you know, you can enable extreme performance mode to improve your performance. So I do test that. I also test the balanced with AI. So we'll see how that affects the frame rates, and also the fan noise, and also the temperatures. And also in custom mode, you can also alter the fan speed as well, which is nice. So you do get a good bit of tinkering there. Now in performance mode, the GPU is automatically overclocked 150 megahertz on the core and 200 megahertz on the memory. And of course, you've got an option there for the GPU overclock. You can disable that, and you've got the GPU working mode. So it does have advanced Optimus, but within that, you've got various other options. You can either go for dedicated GPU mode, which all my testing was done doing that. You can have hybrid mode, hybrid iGPU mode only, hybrid auto mode. So you can have it, just using the iGPU only if you want, or in the auto mode, like I did for your battery tests. You unplug it and it switches off the dedicated GPU and just uses the iGPU. Now you've got system update. I like that, just to have a one stop there for a quick system update. You can do macro keys. You've also got the dynamic sound software that always works well as good. X-ray color assistant, and you've got the Tobii Eye tracking software. Now, I've tried that before in the past, many years ago. I think it was an Alienware laptop, and I must admit, I thought it sucked. It has improved. What I find here, it certainly tracks your head nicely, and in game, you can actually move your head and look up and down, and the screen moves up and down or left and right, and it doesn't affect the aiming. So you can aim somewhere at a point and look to the left, and it'll still aim where it was. So that's nice, but I don't know where I would use it though, because it does add a little bit of stuttering to the game. Imagine if you're moving your mouse to the right and looking to the left. It's hard to do, but you do that and there's a little bit of stutter, and I don't think it's all particularly that useful really. Now you also can go in there and for productivity purposes, dim the screen when you're not there, which will help save battery life. So if you walk away, the screen will dim after a short period of time, and when you come back, it detects you and it turns back on. I think that's quite nice. And the eSport function, you can actually also put a FPS counter in the on the screen. You can choose where you want it, so that is good to have as well. But it's on there all the time. Now it does also in the software have Smart Battery version 3, which is machine learning to reduce battery degradation. So that's a nice option to have. In fact, you've got all kinds of options to safeguard the battery. And of course, for the lighting, it's a per key RGB keyboard, so you can alter every key. There's various patterns, and I do like it. It's good. And of course, you can do the same here with the light bar at the front. Now I do like the keys, typical Lenovo keys, very good. Probably one of the best membrane keys you got, because the keycaps are concave, and I think you can have an option in their configurator to have some of the removable keycaps. You can put, I think, probably on the AWSD keys. But I think they're very good, good tactile feedback. And I do wish it did do a mechanical keyboard at some point as an option, just to mix things up a little bit. But I'd like the full-size arrow keys, which you can use to alter the key brightness as well as scroll. You do have a separate number pad, and I do like the FN shortcuts there, the FN, Q and R, so that is nice. So let's take a look at some of the CPU benchmarks. In Cinebench R23, I tested in extreme performance mode and performance mode, as shown by the yellow bars. Now in extreme performance mode, it did go up to 138 watts, 88 degrees Celsius, and that scored 29,389 points, which is very decent. It's actually just putting it behind the Asus Strix Scar 18. In performance mode, the PL1 is 130 watts, and that's what it ran at, 130 watts and 87 degrees, and that got 28,501 points, which is still not bad. In Cinebench 2024, again I tested in extreme performance mode as well as performance mode, and the multi-core performance in extreme performance mode I got 1,694 points. Now it ran 140 watts, 87 degrees Celsius, and that's probably the third best I've tested so far. And in performance mode it was 130 watts, 91 degrees Celsius, and that was just slightly lower at 1656, and the single core was about 125 points, which is pretty par for the course for the 14900HX. In the TimeSpy CPU test, it did very well. It got 17,075 points, which, the top two. One was the previous gen Legion 13900HX, and this took second place, so that is very nice, even beating the Asus ROG Strix Scar 18. And looking at some of the GPU scores, TimeSpy GPU, We got 19,575 points. The 4080 ran at 74 degrees Celsius. That is good. And it was, top of the 4080 pack, which we'll see time and time again. This Legion Pro 7, is probably one of the better 4080 laptops that I've tested. So the only ones beating it are the 4090s. We'll see the same again in 3D Mark Speedway, 4,937, beating all of the rest of the 4080s. But of course, bear in mind, the GPU is slightly slightly overclocked. It's actually slightly overclocked, 4937 points, so not bad. But we want to see also how good this cooling system is, how good is the vapor chamber and everything else. Now, the chassis temperatures were pretty cool. Across the keyboard, and even underneath, I didn't feel anything hot. So it's actually expelling the air very well. Very, very impressed with that. Let's look at the fan noise and the thermals with using Far Cry 6. Now, at the top, we've got extreme performance with the GPU, of course, overclocked. And below that, we've got performance mode. Of course, the GPU is overclocked in that as well. Balance mode with the AI setting, and also balance mode just by itself. Now, in extreme performance mode, the watts definitely goes up. We've got the CPU is 90 watts and 87 degrees. Now, compare that to regular performance mode, where it's only 60 watts and 80 degrees. So definitely it goes up there. And in fact, the graphics card that drops down to 112 watts to compensate, and that's 69 degrees compared to 79 degrees and 152 watts on performance mode. Now, balance mode with AI, that also serves to increase the power compared to regular balance mode, as you can see. We get again 80 degrees Celsius on the CPU and 62 watts, so similar to the performance mode. And the GPU is the same at 79 degrees, 152 watts. Now, regular balance mode, the CPU is down to 72 degrees, 35 watts, and the 4080 is cooler, 68 degrees and 100 watts. As for the fan noise, it was quite interesting. The extreme performance mode was only 44 decibels in this game. Now, in other games, it's probably similar to regular performance mode, but I think the trade-off, is good. You do get some extra power there at times. So that was 44 decibels. The performance mode was 51 decibels. Balance mode with AI was 47 decibels, and balance mode alone was 33 decibels. So very quiet in balance mode. So looking at the frame rate in Far Cry 6, extreme performance mode got 131 FPS, and performance mode got 128. So extreme performance did help out a little bit. Balance mode with AI got 124, and balance mode alone just 99. So the AI certainly increases the power and, of course, the frame rate. Now, looking at Assassin's Creed Valhalla, again, we've got the same setup here with the extreme performance mode at the top. And that sees the CPU running at 85 degrees and 80 watts compared to regular performance mode, 79 degrees and 58 watts. So the power goes up there on that CPU. And as for the GPU, the 4080, extreme performance mode was 78 degrees, 149 watts, and about the same for performance mode. So we do see more power going to the CPU in this game. It does depend on what the game and what it's going to be doing. So that is very nice. Performance mode got 79 degrees on the CPU and 58 watts, and GPU 78 degrees, 148 watts. Now the balance mode with the AI, we do expect that to increase the power to similar to the performance mode. We get the CPU at 79 degrees and 62 watts. So, yep, similar to performance, as is the 4080, 78 degrees, 148 watts. And in regular balance mode, the CPU is cool at 72 degrees, only 36 watts. And the GPU 67 degrees and 103 watts. So balance mode ideal if you're gaming with people around you. And in terms of the frame rates, extreme performance mode saw 119 FPS, same as regular performance mode, and the balance mode got with AI got 113, and regular balance mode got 100. So Cyberpunk 2077 with ray tracing set to ultra and DLSS balanced. Looking at the frame rates, so 76 in performance mode, 74 FPS in balance with the AI, and 55 in balance mode alone. In terms of comparing it to other laptops, it's pretty much on par with the other 4080s, I would say there. In fact, not too far behind a 4090. And in balance mode, 55 FPS, it's still better than a 3080 Ti, but behind 140 watt 4070. Now, I would say in general, the CPU didn't really get over 90 degrees. Now, there was one game here, Dead Space Remake, where it did. Performance mode got to 88 degrees, whilst in the balance mode with the AI, it did get into about 93 degrees. That was 105 watts, so it pumped a lot of watts to the CPU with the AI there in this game, compared to the 65 watts in performance mode. And the 4080, when you had the AI activated, went up to it was about 113 watts on the GPU and 74 degrees. Performance mode was similar, 109 watts, 73 degrees. And in terms of the frame rate, performance mode 134 FPS, same as the balance mode, the AI about 134 as well, and regular balance mode was 108. So the performance again was pretty much on par with, say, like the Helios 18, which is in turbo mode. So that was not bad at all. And the the balance mode, the AI, does up it up to about the performance mode levels. In Watchdog Legion, using ultra settings, ray tracing set to ultra, but using no DLSS, we've got 57 FPS. So that's just below a 4090, so that's very good, and slightly ahead of a regular 4080 laptop. So good performance there. So how would I sum up the Legion Pro 7? Well, I must say, I think it's probably one of the better 4080 laptops that I've tested. Performance is at the upper tier of the 4080s. So, and I think for the cooling is very good. Chassis was cool. The the fan noise is very good. 51 decibels max. That was very refreshing. So you can game quite comfortably without having to use headphones. The design is still good. I mean, it doesn't look dated in any way, but I would like to see them changing it a little bit. I would like to see mechanical keyboards. I'd like to see a bigger screen. I'd like them to get back to the RGB at the sides and the symbols at the back lit up as well. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see different coloured options too. Perhaps like a white one or silver or something. Just mixing things up a little bit. And I'd like to perhaps see some different screen options, not only the size, but perhaps like an OLED. I'd like to see an OLED option. Or even a mini LED, something a little bit different. But all in all, I mean, for $3,000, it's still on the upper end of the price for 4080. I mean, you can get them for like, under $2,500 these days. So it's a bit pricey. They throw in extras like the Tobii Eye tracking, which I don't think you need really. But they do have a very good warranty. Lenovo, they send text to your house, and it's quite competitive to extend a warranty as well. I've had them do that before. It is good. Anyway, I hope you found that useful. Thank you for watching. Remember, like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.